So what's going on, guys? So I'm not gonna put too much energy into this video. It's Friday morning and I figured I'd give people who actually cared about my little update regarding anxiety and mental well-being and kind of what I've been dealing with. And I started some meds and I kind of went off of them. So I was taking lorazepam as needed for probably months now. So I was taking nothing crazy, like 0.5 milligram, 1 milligram, maybe 2 on very extreme anxiety days. And it's kind of a big bandage. And I don't know, I think it just started to get a little bit out of control with not really doing too much and maybe just masking issues that I needed to deal with a little bit more. So benzos are very addictive. We'll get to a little bit more of that in a second, but I eventually went to a psychiatrist. I've been working with a therapist once a week who's been really helpful. Pretty, minor therapy is no big deal. It's essentially a middle person to talk to who just gives you feedback, essentially a sounding board, and nobody can really not benefit from having someone to talk to a little bit openly about stuff that they may be having issues with in their life. Then I went to a psychiatrist. For those who aren't aware, psychiatrists are essentially there to prescribe medication. So I wanted to try something that was maybe long-term, not so as needed, like the lorazepam. And they got me venlafaxine. So I attempted to start that. I was on the lowest dose for the extended release. That was 37.5 milligrams, I believe. And I went on that for essentially 2 weeks. To begin, for sure, my stomach was not really loving the med. It was very, what would you say? Just upset and not feeling great, like I had a stomach ache, almost like I had a bad meal. I probably lost 10 pounds in 2 weeks, maybe, I bet, because I just didn't have an appetite. So the side effects with the venlafaxine or any medication apparently are pretty significant. You get maybe dry mouth. I was really tired, for example, so I'd take it in the morning. I would take it on, a full stomach essentially, but I don't eat a huge breakfast. I made like granola or yogurt or something kind of light. That's how I eat in the morning. And then I would take my med. And it just essentially made my stomach feel wretched the entire day. And I would always have some kind of crash energy-wise. So like 1, 2 o'clock, I'd feel the need to take a nap. Now, mind you, I'm not a big med person. I don't take anything really synthetic. I've been eating healthy and vegetarian and organic for a long time. I don't eat high fructose corn syrups. I'm just really aware and mindful of what I put in my body. So the thought of medication is not my favorite, but I was open to it. You got to stay open, because if you're having a hard time with something, you explore different possibilities. And for me, my body just was not enjoying the venlafaxine. And I knew that I didn't ideally want to be on medication, but especially if I wasn't feeling that much better. Pardon me, what's the point? I'm drinking coffee, indigestion. But regardless, as I said, if I'm not feeling that much better and my anxiety didn't feel amazing, the lorazepam, for example, made me feel good. It essentially numbs you out a little bit, but relaxes you. It's not anything really crazy or intense. It's just a relaxed kind of feeling, and it kind of curbs your anxiety. So I wish the medication kind of made me feel more like that, but it didn't. And I don't know, I just didn't vibe with it. And then I went back to the psychiatrist, who then I talked to about it, and she didn't seem overly concerned about me losing weight. And I was kind of concerned. I was 187. I mean, mind you, I weighed 204 in the winter. That was more than I should weigh. I should weigh like 195 or something. But 187, and I just didn't feel like it was doing good or doing well to my body. And then she upped the dose to 75 milligrams, and I just wasn't vibing with that. I didn't want to start taking more pills and more medication when I wasn't feeling great. So I kind of didn't feel like I was being heard, but I guess apparently sometimes if you increase the med, it will actually curb the side effects and make you feel better. But I didn't want to even chance that. So I decided to opt to get off everything. So I weaned myself off the venlafaxine. I was having a colonoscopy done, and you have to fast and essentially not eat. And I didn't want to be on any kind of pills the 2 days that I wasn't going to be eating. So I kind of weaned myself off in preparation for the colonoscopy, and that was that. And actually, after the colonoscopy, after the anesthetic, I kind of felt great. And I've been looking into alternative methods to baby heal, such as ketamine. Ketamine is also an anesthetic, and it just kind of got me thinking maybe the ketamine, that type of anesthesia type treatment, could actually do some healing and some good. I tried microdosing psilocybin mushrooms a teeny bit, and I just didn't want to go that route because I don't want to have the chance of hallucinating during the day or doing anything like that if I'm flying drones or working. For me, I just automatically associate that with kind of being irresponsible a bit, even though I'm not saying anything. Anyone who benefits from microdosing and has a good result, then awesome. And I know there's a lot to be said about psilocybin and different kind of microdosing options, but I just don't want to play doctor personally. I'd rather go and have someone help me out. So there's a couple different, there's Ketamine Wellness Center, but they're essentially $3,000 for 6 treatments. And then there's another place I looked into called Mind Bloom, and they're essentially $1,200 for 6 treatments, but they give you the medicine, they send it to your house, and then you do it virtually essentially. So they keep the cost down. God, holding up the phone gets tiring, but again, they keep the cost down by sending you the medication and then doing the stuff virtually. So you have essentially a guide that will kind of guide you through the treatments and the medicine while you're taking the ketamine. It's an oral dose, I believe, not an IV. Obviously, you're not going to be giving yourself an IV at your house, but the other clinics usually are intravenous. And actually, I don't mind the thought of, of not going intravenous and just doing some kind of oral lozenge, which I believe is the way they administer it for that Mind Bloom. But right now, I went and I opted to get into a therapy program. I'm just holding this phone. This is kind of an impromptu. I just want to do it organically and kind of chill. This video is just a simple little update. But I opted to go to this behavioral health program for anxiety, depression, and I've been doing that for 2 weeks. It's 3 hours a day, and I figured I'd give that a try to maybe empower myself a little bit and get a little bit better coping mechanisms and tools to deal and work through anxiety. There's a bunch of different people. It really puts things in perspective when you're in group kind of therapy. You got people, who maybe have benzo addictions, or you have people who have, they're self-harming and cutting themselves, or suicidal, or had suicide attempts. So there's a lot of heaviness, which is kind of hard, but it does put things in perspective, and it makes you realize everyone's kind of suffering inside. Sometimes it's more intense, but you really don't know who's having a hard time in life. Just because you look healthy and you look all right doesn't mean you're doing all right. So never be ashamed of that. Remember that if you are suffering inside and internally, don't be ashamed. There's so many people out there having difficulties in life, and there's nothing to be ashamed of. There's a lot of options to get help. You just have to kind of know what resources to go to. If you want, you can leave in the comment below if you need some kind of help or advice. I can maybe try to see, but essentially you got to try to find maybe behavioral health centers in your area and just different resources and options. And there are definitely options if you don't have money. I'm on Medicaid, so I don't have a lot of money. I have the money to kind of do a few things, but not a lot of excess. So I'm on essentially Medicaid for my insurance. But I do feel pretty blessed and grateful that I have some good therapists and some good doctors, my primary physician, and I got my colonoscopy. And just staying on top of your physical health as well as your mental well-being is really key, because you don't want to have everything kind of unravel and go badly on you. So that's what I've been doing. I got one more day today. Again, it's 3 hours for this behavioral health thing. You essentially, again, get coping tools and mechanisms to kind of work through stuff. And it's good to have that group therapy, but at the same time, sometimes you walk away feeling a bit taxed and more anxious because you have a lot of heaviness being dumped. And it's just hard to listen to people who are having a hard time. It's not obviously pleasant to hear people suffering or having difficulties in their life while you're having your own issues that you're kind of working through. But it's good. It's good to have compassion. It's also good to have, others share with you and give some feedback and maybe try to offer some support. And people offer support as well for maybe stuff that you're working through. So that's basically what I've been doing, is totally off medication. For those who saw me start medication, totally off lorazepam, which is good. I have, what else is there? I did this 2-week program that I'm maybe going to need to do one more week, and I'm not positive yet. And if I do one more week, I'm not sure, but I don't personally feel it's helping. It's not hurting, but at the same time, I feel like I still need something else. So there is where the ketamine treatment lies. And I think I'm going to give it a whirl and probably go with the Mind Bloom because it's more affordable. I don't know. I got to still kind of look into it a teeny bit more. I would love to get in touch with Ketamine Wellness Center and maybe have them do some kind of documenting of my journey and my experiences, because my anxiety has been pretty darn severe. And it's one of those things where I really want to see. I've used ketamine recreationally a couple times, but this is not recreational kind of use. It's obviously completely different. You set an intention, you do a lot smaller dose, like a micro type dose. You're guided through the whatever it is, the 10-minute experience. I'm not even sure exactly how long it is, but it does do supposedly repair on your brain and repairing brain synapses and things like that are kind of worn through, almost like a little pothole on your brain and on your psyche over years of really intense stress. People kind of know, some do, that I'm caregiving for my mom with dementia, and I caregave for my dad with dementia. So there's a lot of heaviness that I've kind of dealt with. Found out I was adopted. Everyone has deep-seated issues in their life, and some of mine, it's all relative. We all get affected on our own level and in our own ways that, just make us unpleasant and make us anxious or depressed or whatever it may be. So nothing to be ashamed about. I'm just letting you guys know a bit about where I'm at in my journey, working through my anxiety and my depression. I would say my anxiety is more intense than depression. I'm feeling hopeful, but at the same time, definitely have moments where I'm struggling, and that's it. So probably until I get out of this program, and then I got some tattoo work I got to work on next week, and after that, I will probably start the ketamine thing, and I probably will try to document that regardless of them working with me or bartering. But regardless, send me some vibes and have a good weekend, and I will talk to you soon. All right, see you guys. Bye.